Hi everyone and welcome to Take Away with Avenue 88 where we share insights on the real estate industry. I'm Jason.
I'm Chantel.
I'm Benny.
And I'm Jackie.
So today we are going to share a very interesting topic, not a project review. We are going to share an interesting topic which is pitfalls for first-time home buyers. So everyone has been a buyer before, our clients and stuff. So this is very interesting because we're going to share pitfalls. But before that, we wish to thank everyone for your support in our videos. Please like, comment and subscribe. And remember to do so.
Remember to subscribe. Thank you.
All right. So maybe why not we share what are interesting pitfalls for either yourself or for your buyers where you have served for the rest of past few years. No pitfall.
Interesting pitfall.
I mean, there's plenty lah.
Yeah.
There's just that off mind. I can't think of anything right now. Recently.
Okay, I think offhand, like let's say pitfall, most of the time is that the timeline, or they screw up their timeline. Then in the end, they need to either ask the seller to extend their option period,
Their completion period.
or the completion period, or they need to pay like penalty to the developer or things like that.
I think there are a lot of mistakes that I can think of, like mistakes in paperwork.
Yeah,
In the period they want to do their completion.
agent fill up the option wrongly.
All these things can lead to very big trouble thereafter. There
Yeah,
are issues that need to be settled, and it's
Agree.
people management end of the day. So
Yes,
some of them
yes.
already expect something that they have in mind, but there are changes and they are not willing to accept that kind of changes. So these are drastic changes for them.
Yeah.
Something that I thought of, right, is that maybe not so much pitfall, but like setback. Is that like like I've served quite a number of buyers, right? Then I often realize like oftentimes people thought that they miss out their dream home. Then they very sad. Like miss out already, all that, right? But like oftentimes that is really like not the one for them. Like they eventually still manage to find something, right, that is actually better than what they thought is the
Everything
best that
happens
they
for a
missed
reason
out.
sometimes.
Yes, exactly.
That's life.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like I thought that's comforting to
So
know.
maybe
lah.
it's really not meant for you.
Yeah,
The next one is always better. lah.
Yes.
Okay, so let me start with my point. So a pitfall for first-time home buyers in my experience, especially for my own purchase, is actually short-sightedness. So in the context of homestay, okay, let me put into context, is for homestay, private properties, and probably young family. So I'm happy to share this topic because I also went through my own process of buying. So personally, of course, I went through experiences which I would like to share. So what do I mean? I feel that a lot of buyers these days, they don't look far ahead in front of them, especially on two topics,
But
basically
you didn't
size.
plan properly.
Plan property is one thing. Is that whatever they buy. Okay, so what is like this? When buyers these days, whenever they look at their needs, wants, and objectives, it's only at their present. They don't really see what is ahead. They don't really see what's going to happen in the next 5 or 10
Look
years.
beyond 10 years lah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So the issue I realized is that mainly two factors, which is the size of unit that they don't really plan ahead and actually schools. So what do I mean? But maybe before that, I would like to start with this point that most buyers these days also have an expectation of capital appreciation in 3 years. Because this is like what SSD after 3 years I can sell. But due to the recent price trend in Singapore, right, it's unlike yesteryears, like last time you can really make money in the first few years. It's way harder these days. So that's why it's probably, I'm looking at probably like 5 to 8 years before you can make decent gains to a move. So having a good vision of what is happening in the next few years is very important, because it's not like last time you can, I stay this property 2 or 3 years, I can sell and make money. It's not like these days anymore. So let's talk about size. So I realized something about the size of units, that when singles or maybe young couples buying a smaller unit, right, they always have an uncertainty of what is the space that they're expecting. And of course, knowing that they will settle down with kids, right, they always go into a 1-bedder or 2-bedder unit, which is small. Of course, this once again is a disclaimer, is provided these people are really going to start up a family, which has more than 2. So what I see these days in trends, like, is like a lot of people are actually buying like 1 bedroom for investment. Then after that, they get settled down, a kid come, then it's like a 1 bedroom is actually not very sizable for them really. And there's a lot of regrets, because like, especially if it's a 1-bedder unit, it's harder to sell in the market. And most of them are stuck in this 1-bedder to start the family in that area. And I've really seen this before.
I think I'm sure most of us, we do encounter clients that are coming from small families, but when we find out like what are the homes we are marketing for them, is a small unit, like a 1-bedroom or 1+ study.
You'll be surprised, this is quite common in the market also.
Correct.
And actually, if there are options out there for like a similar 1-bedder investment. You can actually get decent 2 or 3-bedder resale units in the market also, that will also probably provide you good rental returns. Let's say if you're going to rent it out for the first few years. And as I mentioned, 1-bedder generally does not offer much capital appreciation, which is quite a trend these days, as compared to larger units where 2 or 3 bedrooms allows you to have more capital gain. So, okay, unless you're buying a one bedder purely for long-term investment and you have another name spare to buy the bigger property for homestay, I think for first-time home buyers, if you're already going into the market, it's always wise to buy at least a 2 or 3 bedroom property that allows you to have a capital appreciation. And say, and I'm actually a firm believer of actually buying as large as possible within your financial means. So for me, just to share my experience, my first property was purchased was actually a 3 bedroom in the OCR area. But at that point of time, I was given the option to buy a CCR studio unit. So you see, there is options out there, but I didn't go with that. So for the 3 bedroom, right, even though I didn't rent it out for the 4 years which I held on to it, it actually gave me better returns in terms of capital appreciation as compared to the studio unit. So that was the decision I made back there. What do you agree on this thing? On the comparison of the 3 bedroom and a studio unit?
I do totally agree, because if you are to get CCR, it's more about the location. But for OCR, it's more of the living needs that you need for yourself, your family, and your future growing family also. So I think you made a wise choice, a very good choice that you opted for the.
I kind of agree. I mean, end of the day, it really depends on what you really want. Do you want to have like family planning, or you just are YOLO and then you just want to stay in the city and get all the convenience?
That's true.
So I feel this one, you need to weigh off.
Yeah,
which
because
is better.
currently with ABSD, right, I think usually we also advise people like your first property, you buy the biggest that you can best afford. I think that is actually a good place to start.
Because not just the size, but based on the quantum, right? Based on the price tag.
Yeah.
So, okay, the next thing about size, which is quite similar topic of size, is the anticipation of kids planning. So, once again, disclaimer, if you're going to be single, a couple without having kids, then of course this may not sound right for you. But the thing is that most families starting out with have kids, right, they usually commit to 2-bedder units, which I feel that it may be a bit too small when you have 1 or 2 kids. So I feel that a 3 bedroom is actually optimal in size. So what do I mean? Just imagine if you buy a 2-bedroom unit and you have a master and a common. So if you have 2 kids, you either have to house 2 kids in the common bedroom, or sometimes if you have 3 kids, they got to be housed in the master bedroom with you, which actually there's going to be a very size constraint, and this actually leads a lot of stress to the families.
And in
also.
today's environment, likely you need a helper also.
That's correct, and then the question is, where does the helper stay if you buy a smaller
exactly.
unit and probably there's no maid's room and stuff. So it's going to be a struggle when, let's say, they have no choice, because remember when I was talking about it, that if you want to hold the property short term, you may not have gains. So if they can't sell to make money, they probably have to struggle to stay in the smaller unit for a longer period of time. And also bearing in mind that with the current price trend in Singapore, buying a bigger unit in the future will also be more expensive. So it's actually more wise to be able to buy a larger unit on the onstart. So for me, just to share once again an experience, 3-bedroom, I bought a 3-bedroom unit. It was good enough for me and my wife, my 2 kids and a helper. But I realized that after I actually held it for 4 years and I made decent gains from there. And that was where I actually moved on with that property to move to a bigger unit, which is a 5-bedroom, which I know that I will look way ahead in front of me for the next 5 or 10 years, because I have, it's a boy and girl. So I know that individually they want each 1 room each. I need a study of my own and I need a guest room. So I actually plan ahead that although they are sleeping together now, it's something that I already vision ahead the next 5 to 10 years. That's what's going to happen. Then on the next point of schools, which I think is very important, because I've already seen this common mistake elsewhere, is that a lot of families, right, they do not plan in advance for their kids' school. So I feel that one should actually really plan at least a few years in advance, aiming for the school that they want to go in, or at least the vicinity of schools, rather than to do it last minute. Of course, once again, a disclaimer, because some people, I do hear horror stories where actually parents buy a house that is beside this school but cannot get in. But this is probably for schools that are really very popular.
Schools.
So, and what I think this is very interesting, because what I encountered is that, for example, primary school registration is always in June. But I always see parents, right, starting only 6 months in advance to buy houses that is near to the school, especially the 1 kilometer ruling, which is actually quite last minute if you ask me. So once again, my story, when I bought my first place, to be very honest, I never had that in mind to actually move to a school, move to somewhere that near is the school. So when my boy turned 3, right, I actually made the switch last year to actually move my place to actually right beside
the ideal school that you want.
Right beside a primary school there.
Okay.
And bearing in mind, right, my kid is only 3, so the registration of school is only 3 years later. So once again, I'm really planning ahead, right?
Advanced
rather than
planning.
do this last minute.
Right.
So and generally the general approach was this: is that the decision to upgrade based on the size and the schools into a bigger unit is I did that rather than to wait for the gains for my previous 3-bedroom to make money, because I know this important fact that the 5-bedroom unit that I want to buy next time will definitely be more expensive than what I bought last year. So that is why I made the decision to go. And then the next step is probably just to wait out for the gains, since my kids will be in the private school for 6 years.
Yeah.
Just settle in. Then maybe the next step is to move to a bigger house, maybe a landed house. Yeah.
Okay.
Chantel, maybe you want to tell us more about financing. Financing is our
Yes,
topic.
that's great. Yes,
Yeah.
financing. So I guess financing is really important for home buyers, because when it comes to a big ticket item, most of us probably we need to get some form of loan. And in fact, we do encourage people to get home loan, because in Singapore, the home loan rates are relatively lower.
This is the lowest interest rate that you can get already of all the different type of loan.
Yep. So it kind of makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to financing, right, there are actually two key things that first time buyers should take note of, which is know your loan and your safety funds. Yeah. So knowing how much you can loan, right, is very important, as it is the key, right, to work out your right budget. So I have heard of times of buyers, right. This is in the case of buying private property. So I have heard of stories where the buyer, right, actually went to option for a unit, but haven't know their loan numbers yet. So they make an assumption that this is the amount of loan they thought they can, that this is the amount that they can. But in the end, after they got the option and then they really go to the bank, and then they realize that they couldn't loan the amount that they want. So as a result, right, they cannot, they have to forfeit their option money, which is 1% of the purchase price. So let's say if you're buying, say $1 million property, it's 10,000 that's forfeited. So so some buyers actually have to go through that because they didn't do their loan checks.
Because I think a lot of times, let's say even for buyers, they earn decent income. So offhand, actually, they think that they can afford that kind of loan, or they can just use online calculation and thought they can afford the loan. But sometimes I think
because I think what I have a very recent experience, right? Because even if they go on bank to put in their salaries and stuff, the TDS, right? A lot of people do not know that the unknown loans that they have.
Yes.
It could be renovation loan, your car loan, or
existing
even
debts.
insurance loans that the bank will actually pick up and actually reduce your loan amount.
no, and then I think there's
Late credit card payment also
exactly
matters.
the late credit card payment,
Yeah.
because
You
some of
hold
the
many
cards that
credit
you
cards.
don't
That's
use.
right.
Correct.
Yes, I once heard of a really pretty high income earner, making I think maybe 30,000 that kind of per month kind of income, right? So there was issue with the loan because because he's very busy, then he always forget to pay his credit card, even though he got money. And that affected the amount that he
The
can
credit
loan.
bureau,
Yes,
right?
the credit bureau.
Yeah,
That's
actually,
right.
this happened to me on one of the cases whereby I represent the seller. So the buyer's agent and the buyer's side, they thought they can. I mean, the IPA, they say done already. But somehow when they really go and submit the things, when the option is out, then they go and get the loan done, right? Then realize actually the buyer has a lot of bad credit card debt.
Bad debts.
But it's not like they forgot to, they cannot afford to pay. No, I think it's the
a poor
yearly
credit
fee.
rating.
They forgot about this card totally outside already.
Yeah.
So only a couple of hundred, but then the credit bureau is in red already.
Yeah,
cannot,
correct.
cannot borrow a loan.
That's why sometimes if people don't always buy homes, then they wouldn't know this. So I think it's really important, before you commit to a property, right, that especially for private property, more so for private properties, that before you make that 1% option money, right, do your in principle
Yes.
approval of loan first, so that you have a good sense of how much you can really loan.
So I think I need to add this is that sometimes actually buyers, when they get offended, hey, why are you asking me about my
that's
loan?
true.
Yeah.
But then I feel this is the number one thing that you should go.
Yes.
General rule
Yes.
of thime, IPA
Yes.
done first
Yes.
before you go to
Yeah.
the
Yes,
exactly.
exactly. And also another thing about knowing your loan numbers, right, is that it actually helps you to work out your budget. And why? Okay, this might sound like a very simple thing or easy thing, but why this is important, right, is because sometimes buying a property can be a very emotional process. Like sometimes people might go and see a sea view unit, and maybe it is marketed 30% above market price, and sometimes due to emotional reason, then people might want to pay more for it. But I think knowing your numbers, right, so I usually tell my buyers that first we get your loan numbers so that we know what is your safe price. Then right, we from the safe price, right, we work out a slightly stretched price that the amount that you are willing to stretch a little bit if we really find something that's super ideal and all. Yeah, and I think with that, right, that can really help us to put in a good perimeter lah, so that when we go for viewings, right, then we can see very nice unit, but we have very clear numbers that we can refer to. And also working out this budget, right, also help buyers to have a sense of the installments that you can anticipate. This is very important, right?
True.
Because even though you can max out the maximum loan that you can get, but sometimes our life is not just about paying mortgage. There is also insurance that you need
Correct.
to pay.
Other expenses,
Expenses and other things that you need to pay for.
Your yearly travel and all. You don't want to affect your quality of life, right?
Yes, exactly. So I think it's very important to have those clear numbers, right? So that you will not feel stressed after buying your house. So I think that is really important. Yeah. So this is the knowing the loan part. So the next would be safety, your safety funds. Yeah. So typically, right, in the market, the common practice is to say like to set aside 6 months that you can pay the installment, and that is like the guideline for safety funds. So just want to ask like you guys, like what do you think about this 6 months thing? Like, do you think it's sufficient?
I think 6 months is a little bit too low for me. For me, I think at least I'm expecting 10, 12 months at least. Yeah, comfortable. But if really, really, really want to be very comfortable, maybe 15, 16 months. I think it's a good.
So maybe for me, in context that we are self-employed, and that is very important because there's we do not get a lot of benefits. We don't get like what CPF, medical benefits and stuff. And self-employed is very uncertain.
Yeah.
I mean, we can sell one condo, we can sell one unit today, but we may not sell one tomorrow. So for me back then, my own experience, I actually set at least 24 months of safety net just to
Wow.
ensure.
24 months is a lot. That's almost like maybe can down
2 years.
payment already.
It's really more of being cautious because I mean,
Yeah.
as the family, I mean the head of family with 2 kids,
Yeah.
you just have to be more cautious about this.
Agree. Okay, now for me, I think that depends on your different season of life. Like which stage
Yes.
are you at? If you are like still single or like maybe you just newly married or what, then maybe the expenses are actually not that high. And as long as you know that you won't have any big purchase or what, I think 6 months actually is sufficient. So it really depends on like which stage are you at lah. I mean, of course, like as a family man, then of course you want to have more buffer. Naturally.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I really love all your answers because it's so varied, and I think that's exactly the point that I want to make over here is that I think the purpose of safety funds, right, is really to cover you in case of maybe job changes or sometimes lifestyle changes, right?
Yeah.
So firstly, I think if it's a 6 months kind of buffer, right, strictly speaking, it is in a way sufficient in a sense that, right, because usually let's say if there is a very if you need to make changes to your property, actually the time to sell a property usually maybe 3 months. So like actually if you have 6 months worth of installment, right, if you really need to sell a property, you do have enough time to cover it. So strictly speaking, 6 months in a way can cover that. But like what Benny and Jason share, like especially if you are a family man, you have family and you have
lot of different
dependents,
commitments,
correct,
yeah.
different commitments, then probably you will want to factor in more. So like what Jackie said, it really depends on which life station that you are at, and also how you are storing these safety funds. Because in a way, if let's say the safety funds is being placed in some high interest rate kind of account, right, that you can have liquidity, right, actually it's still okay lah, even if it's a big sum. So I think it's the way that you manage it. So I think the key thing, right, is to have clarity in terms of the kind of life that you want to live. Then you can set the amount of safety funds that is required.
True.
So for me, I think one of the major pitfalls, I think you all will also agree, is not being able to plan your timeline properly. Time frame of your property purchase as a first-time home buyer or even a second home buyer. Okay, so the risk involved as a result of poor timeline planning, I would say, is extremely high. So some of them can result in nowhere to stay, or even having to move into a house that is still in the midst of renovation or not yet completed, just not ready for you to move in. So for timeline planning, is actually very closely managed and in correlation to what Chantel mentioned, financials. So because of completion period, you have to ensure that your funds come in timely.
In time for
that if let's say you want to make your next purchase, you have the right amount of funds to fund it. And also we not talk about first time home buyers, even for like second time home buyers, timeline planning is especially crucial for them in terms of property count they have to avoid the additional buyer stamp duty and also potentially seller stamp duty. So that they can actually dispose their
like the
property.
sell-by timing,
correct. Sell-by
the
scenario.
logistics,
Correct. So this is what the next few scenarios that I'm going to talk about. Of course, there are first-time home buyers. There are also buyers who are selling their current home, buying the next one. It can be from HDB to HDB, from HDB to private, from private downgrading to HDB. They can also be renting now and then looking outside in the market for a private property to stay. They can be renting now and want to rent again. They can be selling their own home, buying a BUC project, and need to rent before they move in to their completed project. So these are the different scenarios we have on hand. So recently, I have an example to share with you all. I'm marketing a unit for rental. Short-term lease because the landlord just wants to do like a 6 to 8 months lease. And this tenant actually came in, local couple. They actually just wanted to rent for 3-4 months. So I mean, out of curiosity, of course, I asked them, why are you looking for rental for such a short period of time? And they actually shared with me that it's as simple as they had they just planned their timeline wrongly, and resulting that they have to look for a 3 to 4 months rent because their new home is yet to complete, and ended up it's a costly mistake they make.
Were they represented by an agent?
No, they are not.
Oh,
they are not
so
because
did
they
their own
also
planning.
want to save on the agent's fees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, correct.
That's
Because
very
they
bold
are
of them.
already paying more for rental for the additional 3-4 months. They are paying mortgage already, but it's because of they never factor in the renovation timeline
Oh, dear.
improper. Yeah, so it's kind of like a small mistake leading to very high cost end of the day. So for me, I think the role of agents is very important, especially if we are appointed as a seller agent or buyer's agent or both, to help them plan their timeline and to do it in a very proper and detailed way, because a competent agent should be able to work out a very ideal time frame right from the start, the first viewing, the negotiation stages, the paperwork, and even to walk you through the completion and handing over of keys. So
make sure the whole transaction goes smoothly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
correct. So
exactly.
during this process, we also try our best. I'm not saying that we can 100%, but we try our best to greatly reduce and to mitigate any kind of hiccups, any room for errors. So all these issues are likely going to lead to unnecessary additional cost, stress, and anxiety, like this example that I
The
shared with you
rental
for the
cost,
tenant. So they really, I mean, out of curiosity, I talked to them and I can see that they are very stressed about it, like not being able to secure a home in time, because there's not a lot of landlords out there looking for short-term lease.
lease.
For them, they also have some requirements, some requests that maybe some landlords out there may not even want to agree to. And fortunately, they got the unit. So help them to solve their problem. But imagine the anxiety and stress they have during this process.
It's very, very stressful.
Especially when you have kids.
Correct.
And you need to move to a smaller apartment, like 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, I once also received like a urgent query from that one is a agent bringing a tenant, also similar situation. I also feel stressed for them.
It can be as simple. I mean, it can be a very simple mistake during your timeline planning, leading up to this kind of situations that you have to face, and which is going to cost you time, money, anxiety, stress.
So I think, I mean, to overcome this, definitely you need to have proper planning.
Yes.
And really, I feel actually first time buyers sometimes actually don't need. I mean, private property.
That's the thing.
Get a competent agent.
Yeah,
as
get a
well.
competent
Because
agent.
But I think there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misillusion that you have to pay, especially on private properties. You have to pay an agent a commission, but it doesn't really work that way. An agent is you don't have to pay an agent to help you do all these things for you, and it's better to get a competent, as you said, someone who's experienced, who have done this so many times, either for their own properties or for their clients, to make sure that everything goes smoothly for you.
So agents from Avenue 88 are all very competent. Okay, but I think also even like for HDB buyers, it's okay to pay that 1%,
correct.
because actually that 1% can save you a lot of trouble. What
for
if
peace of mind?
for a peace of
Exactly.
mind.
Correct.
I feel it's really worth it. Okay, then
Jackie, correct. So
yes.
you forgot about Jackie. Jackie, your turn.
Yes, okay, so I'll start my topic. Actually, it's about lease tenure. Okay, so I understand actually, I mean, we have a lot of older resale, especially HDBs. And usually, like your older HDB flats, when you transact, do you all get buyers, right? So are they the younger buyers or the older buyers? Let me ask you all.
For me, I did one very old HDB at Marine Terrace, it was actually a young couple.
Young couple,
Very young couple.
right?
Yeah, correct.
For me, yes. Older HDBs, there will definitely be young couples coming
couple,
in.
also young couple.
I once marketed a very well renovated old HDB.
Yeah.
And I had so many young couples came and
It's in a
view.
great location, right?
Yeah, and even one of them were like is my friend.
Oh,
then
really?
Then I tell my friend, you don't buy, not suitable for you. I mean, like there is a suitable group of people
Yes.
for this property,
caveat
but
to
it
it
is not for his needs lah. Yeah, so like so eventually it was sold to a family who
Yes.
want it to be their final
Because they
home.
want the location,
Their final home.
right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so when we talk about like older resale, right, or older HDB, usually it's those that like over 40 years and above, right? Some are even maybe 50s. So recently, okay, not me lah, my colleagues, my teammate lah, she has this unit for sale at Upper Cross Street, at near Chinatown that side lah.
Older HDB cluster.
Older, yeah. So that one is like over 50 years already. So in the end, the buyer who bought it is younger couple. Is a young couple lah. Okay, so I rank those like 35 and below. You are considered young lah, right? Younger couple. So the young couple bought it. So what I want to say is that, okay, I mean no offense to that. End of the day, you buy the property that you want, but at the same time, because of the lease tenure, I feel buyers should always have the end game in mind. Will you really stay this house forever, or like do you plan to sell next time?
Correct, yeah.
So something I think can link to like what Jason mentioned is about the planning, the timeline also. So it's like, do you foresee yourself like stay in the next 5 years or 10 years? And next time, the next buyer who is going to buy your flat, right? Can they still afford to buy this flat? Because
of the tenure.
exactly,
Yeah, correct.
because let's say now is already 55 years old, 10 years later can be 65. Can the next buyer still finance the house?
Correct, especially for HDB,
Yeah,
right? Because
exactly.
at that kind of age, right, young buyers cannot buy because they are not allowed to buy.
Yeah.
Even they are allowed to buy is they are
Will be
able to
prorated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
the
Yeah,
loan
this
and
loan.
grant, everything will be prorated. So
Right,
in a way, I feel like a lot of first time buyers, it's always better to look through the next your end goal lah. Will you stay in the house forever, or like is this your last home? Which cannot be this is your first time buying it, right? So likely you must think of the next buyer. Can the next buyer still finance this house? Yeah, I think likewise for private property as well. So generally we have this rule of thumb lah, is that like if it's above 30 years and above, right, the age lah. So maybe you need to have a second thought. Right, you see whether when is your exit plan.
Yeah.
Always have an end goal in mind.
Yeah.
I think
That's
adding
what I
on
feel.
to what Jackie mentioned, it's not just looking for next buyer. Sometimes
Yeah.
due to unforeseen circumstances, you have to dispose the house.
Oh
Like
yes,
you
yes.
got a relocation permanently, or due to like other kind of finances,
Life
you need
event
that
or
you need
whatever.
to get the funds out.
Yeah.
And what are the potential issues you'll face when it comes to selling?
Exactly. Is the house easy to sell?
Yeah.
Or like can you sell off easily or off the market or not? So I feel actually lease tenure, generally even like freehold, okay, so actually like freehold there will be a premium to it, right? I mean, as you know, like private property, usually the developer will give like at least maybe 20%, 10-20% as a premium
Yup.
compared to the price. So is it always like freehold is always better than leasehold? So actually the short answer is no lah. We have seen like a lot of leasehold property actually perform better,
Outperforming, yeah,
outperform the freehold projects. So I would say like, let's say even like a 99 leasehold property, if it's like within the 20 years or even 30 years 30 years mark, still okay. Not just say like new launch is always better, but resale one also perform not bad, right? I think you bought it, it's a resale market,
Yeah,
right?
both of my
Yeah,
units are
resale
resale
market.
also,
Yeah. So it's not a new launch. So in a way, I feel this one you must really have a very detailed study and analysis to do the price comparison on all this. Yeah.
So I think it was a very interesting sharing today for pitfalls for first-time home buyers. So maybe just to summarize it later, mine was about short-sightedness for buyers these days. Chantel was talking about financing, which is very important because it's a big-ticket item. We have Benny to talk about timeline, which is so important because you know there will be issues of cost involved.
Yep.
And for our tenure-wise, where Jackie was sharing more about that. So if you think that this was very interesting to you, please remember to share with your friends. Or if you think there's another topic, similar topics that you want us to touch on, please let us know. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.